Hello! Today I have something a little different. Instead of doing a book review, I decided I want to do a movie review on The Conjuring, released in 2013. I'm going to put this down actually, I don't want to be all the time. The Conjuring was released on the 18th of July 2013 in Australia by Australian director James Wan. James Wan, up to that point, was most well known for movies such as Insidious and especially Saw. The Conjuring movies are well known for being based off of true events, specifically the ones involving real-life demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens are the main characters we follow through the main Conjuring movies, and they are played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga respectively. The inspiration from these movies involved going through the Warren case files over their career and then turning them into films. Now, I'm not one to believe in paranormal stuff and haunted houses, although I will say it adds an extra layer of creepiness to the films that I really love. This movie is about the haunting of the Perron family's farmhouse in Rhode Island back in 1971, and yes, this haunting did really happen. Allegedly. It's worth noting that this franchise does get a bit of flack because people don't like the Warrens as real people because they would exploit the boundaries of religion and make money from it. But honestly, it doesn't bother me. As a work of fiction, I love these movies. I like the slight unease of the fact that these characters were real people who, again, allegedly experienced this. The whole based on a true story thing wasn't really meant to be taken overly seriously in my eyes. That's enough about the background of the real Warrens. I won't get too deep into it here. I'm definitely going to look at the other films in this franchise. Maybe not all the spin-offs immediately, but definitely 2 and 3. Now, let's have a look at this film's length. The Conjuring is 112 minutes, 1 hour and 52 minutes if you like. This is definitely on the longer side for a horror movie, and I personally think it's just perfect. The pacing on this movie never slows up. We have about 20 minutes or so of background info on the characters, and then just go. Then it's just 90 minutes of crazy shit involving a large amount of strange events that happen around the house until Ed and Lorraine Warren are called in to try to push the spirit out of the house. There's a lot of learning and background info amidst all the action, and it can be a bit tricky to pick up on the first viewing. I won't be going over all of that today because I like to keep my reviews relatively spoiler-free, if possible, but it makes the movie a very rewarding rewatch. Just know that you'll be on the edge of your seat the whole time. I'd like to specifically mention Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson as the standout actors in this movie. Everyone in this film is fantastic, but as far as acting goes, Wilson and Farmiga are just brilliant. Wilson does a great job of making Ed a bit of a douchey character, which I like a lot. Ed is a little annoying at times, especially when he confesses that he doesn't believe in vampires. Like what, you believe in ghosts, witches, demons, poltergeist, spirits, and whatever else, but vampires are the one thing that don't exist? Okay. And Farmiga does a great job at portraying a clearly troubled woman who has suffered from past traumas. It isn't outright obvious, but you can tell this woman's been through some shit the minute she opens her mouth. It's also worth noting that The Conjuring doesn't heavily focus on the acting. It's mostly about the atmosphere and scares of the movie, and it does really well in those two things. So, having a couple of great actors involved just gives the movie a slight edge which you might not expect, but is very welcome. The Conjuring is not a revolutionary movie at all. It's nothing that hasn't been done before, but it does put a slight twist on the genre. Instead of all the horror cliches which you might expect from a haunted house movie, it makes the scares its own thing by using much more audio-based scares and only using visuals when it's really necessary. This is another thing that I love about this movie, is that you can actually feel like it knows that it isn't the world's most original concept, aside from the whole true story thing, but and it doesn't try to be something that it's not. It isn't an arrogant film by any means. You can really tell with some modern horror films that the director was trying to be bigger and sometimes better than anything done before, and it drives me insane when they pretend that their movie is better than stuff like The Conjuring because it has more emotional depth to it, or something along the lines of that. The Conjuring is made to be a scary movie that can be enjoyed by any horror fan, whereas films like Hereditary are not meant to be enjoyed by every horror fan, and because Hereditary has more emotional depth, people try to say that it's better than The Conjuring for that reason, or they say that The Conjuring is such mainstream horror and that Hereditary is something bigger than better. I'm superior to you because I like Hereditary more than The Conjuring, because I am sophisticated and a real horror fan, not the weakest piss Conjuring versus Die Hard. Like, no. F*** off. Okay, so I love Hereditary and I really like Ari Aster's films, but I had to get that off my chest. Sorry. I'm going to give The Conjuring an 86% rating. It gains so much points for its immense terror that doesn't halt at all throughout its nearly 2-hour runtime. Its incredible cinematography and also Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga's acting. The only points it loses is because of how big the family is. Some of the kids play hardly any role at all, and to be honest, I can't really remember everyone's name. That fault can be excused though, because the parent family was a big family in real life, and the crew were just trying to replicate the actual family. The only other fault that I have with the movie is the storytelling. It isn't bad by any means, but it's a bit hard to follow in some parts. This problem is very much fixed in The Conjuring 2, which has a much longer runtime and better dialogue, therefore leading to the movie having much more comprehensible storyline than the first one. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this movie review. The next movie I'll be doing is going to be The Conjuring 2, and the next video I'll be doing is a review on Stephen King's It. I just reread that book and I absolutely loved it, and I can't wait to talk about it. Anyway, I'll see you then. Bye.